Spring break 2004 finally came for the children of Mel and Lorraine Rogers. The four siblings, Vicki, Cherry, Dan, and Shelley, were taking their spouses and going on a cruise together. We were taking the Carnival Pride out of Long Beach, California, and heading to the Mexican Riviera. While we left on Sunday, the 11th of April, 2004, the route we were to follow had us in port at Puerto Vallarta on Wednesday. We were there all day and in Mazatlan on Thursday. Friday was a day in Cabo San Lucas on the tip of Baja California. We returned to Long Beach 8 days later on Sunday, the 18th. Cherry and Ted drove from Darrington to Torrance, where they spent the night before the cruise with Ted's sister. Dan and Pat drove down from Stanwood a week early, as Dan had work and projects to do at Pat's mother's home. Vicki and Jem flew down to LAX on Saturday before the cruise and were picked up by Tina and Patrick, and then taken to Don and Shelley's home. These are the swans who live on Lake Forest in front of Don and Shelley's home. These are beautiful roses that are cultivated near Shelley's deck. Sunday at noonish, the group met up in a huge line at the terminal. There were to be over 2,000 guests on this spring break cruise. Shelley and Cherry looked back at Long Beach from the deck of the ship. Before we could get far out to sea, we needed to pass a safety muster. All passengers had to put on life vests and report to various stations aboard the ship where lifeboats and emergency help were available. Cherry and Shelley may have had to stand a bit too long in the sun. We all met up the next day and hung out on the Lido deck, the deck with all the pools, where we indulged in beverages and ice cream. Cherry and Dan, Don and Shelley, Jim and Vicki, Dawn is entertaining us. What is Dan watching? Is Jim watching the swimmers? Vicki is certainly enjoying the relaxation. Monday evening was the first of the more formal evenings. Before going into the pre-dinner reception, we stopped to have formal photographs taken. It has been many years since the four siblings had their photos taken together. Having the 8 of us pose and all look presentable at once presented quite an effort. Pat, Dan, and Ted are at the captain's reception before dinner. Jim and Shelley are enjoying appetizers. Shelley and Ted even had the opportunity to dance to the big band sounds before going into the main dining room. Shelley and Don also had a chance to dance for us. Big Band Sounds Orchestra played many times for us. Couple we saw each evening during the dancing. We had a theory that she was a wealthy single woman and he was her gigolo. This was partly because Cherry saw them drive up to the pier. He was wearing a chauffeur cap and she was riding in the back. He helped her out and then tended to the luggage. We wove many imaginary stories around this couple. The captain of our ship introduced himself and his staff.
Remember that. When you said that, yeah, I remember that.
In the dining hall, our waiter wanted a chance to practice origami for us. It took forever, but he made this bird.
How do you make bird? I'm gonna make bird for you.
So you catch the bird or make it? You're trying to catch it after he's made it.
I'm gonna make bird. Watch me, huh? There's so many food.
Why not just start with a smaller piece of bacon?
I have a book on it.
You know how to make it?
No, he doesn't. Nobody has a book on it.
I look in the book and I think, oh, God, it's beautiful, beautiful. And I go, I hear it, yeah. I can't do it.
Yay! Thank you! Back in our room steward had also fashioned a bird out of towels and washcloths. Tuesday, Cherry and Vicky are cruising the cruise ship. Jim got involved with a blackjack table, while Ted entered a slot tournament. The rest of us just rested, enjoying all the various activities the cruise ship provided, except the pool. While there was an adult pool and spa as well as a kids' pool and spa, the little kids were in both, splashing, yelling, and running around. It's hard to choose to relax in a spa when it's filled with this kind of activity. This was a real disappointment. Tuesday evening, the carnival held a special reception by invitation only to those who had sailed with them before. This is Fun Ship Freddie welcoming the guests. We all met up again at dinner in the main dining hall. The food was elegant, very abundant and varied. While served with presentation, it was a feast for the eyes as well as the mouth. Because there were 6 to 8 different appetizers, 2 to 3 salads, 5 to 8 main courses, and 4 to 5 desserts at each meal, everyone seemed satisfied.
What was the last airplane you worked on, Tim? What was on the DC-9? DC-31?
After dinner, we went to the Riviera Lounge to listen to some jazz music for a while. We then adjourned to the Taj Mahal to see the very first of the Broadway-type shows. It was wonderful with excellent dancers and singers. We all enjoyed it very much. Show, we went to Butterflies, a dance lounge on the next floor down. The Filipino band played all the dance tunes from the 50s on up, but they couldn't understand all the words. When they weren't sure, they just made up their own, making for a very funny and interesting evening. One example was the song Bad Moon Rising. They sang it Bathroom Rising. Returning to our rooms, we found this delightful lamb on our beds. Early Wednesday morning, we arrived at Puerto Vallarta. This is the official flag of Mexico. When we met on the dock, we looked back at the very large ship. There are 10 decks for customers and 3 below for crew and mechanical navigational needs. There were over 2,000 guests cruising, including over 800 children. The crew consisted of nearly 1,000, sleeping below the top 10 decks. Many tour directors and vendors with special permission to be on the dock greeted us, all wanting us to tour with them, buy from them, or allow them to take our photos. Cherry is watching the birds in the cage as we wait for Don and Shelley, who are going on the tour with us. Dan and Pat declined this tour because it was supposed to be very bouncy and hard on the back, as it was. They did their own touring of Puerto Vallarta that day, particularly since they had been there recently. We were about to spend the day in Unimogs, Mercedes-Benz all-terrain vehicles, and go into the backcountry near Puerto Vallarta. While waiting for our tour to begin, I took photos of the flowers, while Jim took photos of the dolphins. Early in the trip, we crossed a river twice. Our tour guide, Michelle, asked us if we wanted to get wet. Cherry and Don were in the front seats at the time. Cherry said, "Sure." Michelle gave the signal to Jose, our driver, and he backed up the bank, gummed the engine, and went racing across the river. He loved it, so he turned around and he did part of it again. Michelle, our guide, gave each of us Mexican names. Jim became Juan, although I kept pushing for Jaime, which really means Jim. I became Viquita, Don became Don Pedro, Shelley became Michelada, Ted became Teodoro, and Cherry became Margarita. Michelle's last name was French, as she was born in Montreal, but the closest translation was Esperanza, which means hope. So we all became the Esperanza family. Michelle was traveling the world. She said she spent her first 20 years in Montreal and would spend the next 20 traveling the world. She had already been throughout the western United States, including Alaska, and had been in Mexico for some time. She would be here only another 2 weeks before moving on to Belize. We stopped at the village of San Jose. This is the town's cathedral and the main street. The plaza in front of the church is one of the main gathering places of a very sociable people. In fact, young boys and girls practice a flirtation here on Sunday afternoons. The girls form a circle walking one way, while the boys form a circle another way. When a boy passes a girl he likes, he hands her a rose. They may pass several more times before she decides to accept the rose or to give it back to him. Inside the church, we found that it celebrated a mixture of Catholicism and religions of the Indians. The mixture came about because the Spanish conquistadors brought missionaries to convert the Indians. Many wouldn't convert until elements of their own religion was accepted by the Catholic priests. As a result, the church represents different beliefs in different parts of Mexico, so you might find different practices when you travel to different cities. Our Lady of Guadalupe is the Indian woman who is regarded as a saint. While she represents the Virgin Mary to the Indians, she also is one of their ethnicity. She appeared to a peasant and helped him to force the Archbishop to believe in the miracle of her descension to earth. As a result of the Catholic Church's acceptance of this saint, many Indians joined the church, and the Lady of Guadalupe is revered all over Mexico today. We stopped at a local cemetery where the villagers leave offerings to the dead. It seems that when the Catholic missionaries tried to convert the Indios, they found their superstitions and ghosts unacceptable. Therefore, they allowed them only one day when the dead could supposedly come back to life. That day is November 1st, the Day of the Dead, and is practiced throughout Mexico.
You get to put them food and drinks. You want to welcome them well. They only come once a year, right? So you put a bunch of flower, candles will represent.
This is the Devil's Street. Notice the fruit growing right on the trunk of the tree in the center of the photo.
And you see
The reason for the name Devil's Tree has to do with the leaves, which form the shape of a crucifix. Michelle showed us plants at the next stop while we were waiting for an authentic Mexican taco at an individual peasant's home. This is the flower on the plantain tree. Plantains are very like bananas, only much smaller. However, the taste is very similar. Notice how they grow upwards. This is a young jaca tree. Michelle had our driver Jose stop earlier so that she could buy a large jaca for us to try. It is a large fruit, but when broken open, contains smaller seed pod-type shapes, 3 to 4 inches long. These were very tasty and we all enjoyed it. The Mexicans call it the Mexican Viagra, as it's supposed to be an aphrodisiac. Michelle was offering extra portions to the men. These are hot chili peppers. They look small and innocent, but you should ask Ted. They offered them to us to put on our tacos, and Ted tried them. Michelle pointed out prickly pear cactus. She told us how they cut off the spikes and use the fruit in their cooking. In fact, we were served cactus in the salsa for our tacos. I tried it and found it very soft, easily digested, but very bland. Michelle pointed out many other edible plants as we toured this hacienda. We spied tomorrow night's dinner roaming around in the backyard. Michelle demonstrated how to make authentic tortillas.
Of the local people here. And still Mexican eats a lot of tortilla. On average, 1 to 2 pounds or 1 kilo of tortilla per day. Okay. Back in time when it was like this and beans was the 2 main sources of food, probably like 4 or 5 pounds of tequila of tortilla per day. So you have to grow the corn. The corn you boil it a little bit. You add a little bit of limestone, and then you have
This is the way to keep a good shape for the barbecue.
yeah. So then you can start to make your tortilla. How you make your tortilla? You crush the corn. Okay. So you crush the corn on that stone here. This is called a metate. A metate is a volcanic stone. And it's the best thing to crush anything. They will crush like cocoa beans also in there, and of course the corn. This was a really hard job. It was a woman's job. You have to be able to make your own tortilla before you could be married. I'm not ready to get married yet because my tortilla really
No problem.
good. What you have to do is a paste like this that you could not see any more of the corn. Like really a paste. Yeah, like this, you know. And
Let me
then
show you the way because
now it's a man's job.
first rule, tail up. Yeah, and then on your knees, babe. And then
There's no good there. Anyway, I prefer not to be ready to be married. Anyway, when you're done, you have like a paste, and then you will make like a round thing, and then you would go like this until you have a tortilla, okay? That's just my tortilla.
Use a dollar pancake.
But, tortilla are round. Do you know why?
my family knows. I think.
They know already.
You remember?
Tortilla, they're round because it was first an offering to the sun god. The sun god, okay.
And why is white?
Sorry?
White, it should be white, the bright color. For the same reason, right?
I don't know.
Because bright color sun, 342 sunny days in Puerto Vallarta or in Mexico, right? That's the reason we might lose 2 eyes. We got suntan.
And then we were given the opportunity to try a number of local fruits.
of some people, some poor people here. We're gonna have them available for you at the beach. You wanna use them for your comfort at the beach? Just gonna ask you one for two per person.
After the corn mixture was rolled into a ball, it was flattened and then fried on an adobe brick stove.
Right now, she doesn't brush the corn anymore. Or she uses the corn flour because it's too long.
The nation's family, right? We got plantain.
Okay, so you know, right now she used the corn flour, she just mixed it with water.
After lunch, we drove past a remote village and into the semi-desert forest to take a nature walk. We saw this paper tree. It's a tree whose bark was used as paper by the Indians in this area. On the right is a strangler vine wrapping itself around a coconut tree. At the top of this tree is a termite nest. Termites are crawling up the left side of this tree trunk. We rejoined Jose and Ted at the Unimog. After our hike, we drove to the beach at San Francisco. This is a secluded beach where we were to have a barbecue. We are all now relaxing after our heavy and filling meal and our margaritas. The beach was closed to swimming today because of strong waves and riptides. This is a building a little north of San Francisco Beach. If it's a home, it must be a mansion. We were told that many retired Americanos move here as the price of land is so much cheaper than it is in the United States. Back in the Unimog after a heavy lunch, it was hard to stay awake until Michelle started passing out free samples of tequila and taught us how to drink it the Mexican way. Michelle insisted on kissing each of us as we left the tour. Jim doesn't look like he minded a bit. Terry and I stayed in Puerto Vallarta for a while the others returned to the ship. We had dinner in an open-air restaurant next to the beach, while the others met in the dining hall for dinner. Our ship sailed on that night for Mazatlan. These are our first views of Mazatlan. All 8 of us took a taxi to Old Town, passing narrow streets and old buildings. We had our driver drop us at La Catedral, the cathedral. After touring the cathedral, we crossed the street and shopped at Senor Frog's for Shelley and Dan's grandchildren. We then headed towards the public mercado to check out the bargains. We didn't flash. Pig's head or pig's feet, anyone? Across the plaza, we looked back at the cathedral. This dog was running away from the mercado with his prize. I hope he can eat all that. We separated into two open-air taxis and headed towards the cliff divers. We watched several dives from the road before we moved on. These are statues near where the divers dove off the cliffs. This one is supposedly President Diaz, a much better presidente than the current one, according to one of the vendors. This mermaid is a tribute to the sea. We're looking across the bay towards North Mazatlan. Back in our open-air taxis, we were heading north to a restaurant on the beach that our divers recommended, El Capitan's. This is a statue honoring the Mazatlan fishermen. After lunch, we walked along the beach, passing La Playa Hotel, where I stayed over 4 years ago. We met for dinner again in the main restaurant on Thursday evening. After dinner, we listened to jazz for a while in the Raphael Lounge. Adjourned to the Butterflies Lounge, where we could listen to easy music and dance. We finally went to the comedy show. It lasted for a while and we stayed for the bedtime story, which was exceedingly funny.
I better tell the wife the kids are not in the future anymore. That wasn't funny. Face the curtain. He's been a naughty boy. Don't move. Stay like that. Don't turn around. Don't turn around. And wash your hands when you're done.
When we returned to our rooms, we saw this interesting creature. At first, I thought it was a lobster, but now, I think it might be a scorpion. What do you think? During the night, we sailed to Cabo San Lucas, at the tip of Baja California. After a leisurely breakfast, we reorganized and took the tender, a small boat which shuttled us to shore. Dan and Pat stayed behind to tour Cabo on their own later in the day. The ride on the tender was relatively swift and easy. We'd been told that it could be very rough and not usable. Much activity was already going on in the Gulf, as can be seen by these jet skis passing us. We got off on the dock and immediately scheduled an excursion to the Arch on a water taxi, a glass-bottomed boat. The boat had some holes in it, and we were not given life vests, leaving us with only a slightly insecure feeling as we bounced along on the waves. What made it especially hard was that I had been told that 3 earlier passengers on the Carnival Pride died when they hired their own water taxi without going through the excursions that Carnival provided. There were many pelicans here, even on the dock. Looking back at our ship, and at Cabo, we saw tour groups of snorkelers on the beach.
You don't need to do that.
No,
You're taking a movie. The pelican on that rock. Yes, the camera, I had a shot of that.
the rocks here were fascinating, as well as the rushing of water.
All these people are back here. Look at the face of the ground.
Our boat guide even told us that one rock was a map of California, upside down.
You see over there with that rock, the blue one? You can see it upside down, that rock is the same to the Baja Peninsula, to the map, upside down. That's the Baja California upside down. See it? Well, you want to see the Pacific window. Pacific window. Well, here's still for the other side of the Pacific Ocean.
The Arch was spectacular, where the Pacific Ocean merged with the Gulf of California.
You see the Scooby-Doo next to me?
We saw a herd of sea lions on the rocks near the Arch.
Sailboat out there.
Parasailers went by as we watched the sea lions. The extra couple on our boat wanted to get off so he could go snorkeling, but she was reluctant to put her feet in the water. Sea kayakers enjoyed this part of the Gulf as well. A pirate ship provides the means for a different tour group.
The Andrea Gale story that made the Skyjack rich 2 months before the movie even came out. I was very well aware of it. Let's say that. Something's wrong with that pirate boat.
Cherry, Shelley, and Vicky took off shopping, while Jim, Ted, and Don relaxed here. We met again and stopped for lunch on
I don't understand why you do that. I don't understand Brenda as much. That's because she brought us to barter. And he said, well, you can't offer less than 50%.
mariachis played for us as we ate. Played near the dock as we walked back to the ship directly after lunch, as we had an early sailing and it was our second formal evening. These views of Cabo's rocks are from the ship's windows. Appetizers at the Mexico farewell party as we watched our ship sail from the Gulf of California, around the tip of Baja, and north along the west coast side of Cabo San Lucas. Before our formal dinner, we again had photos taken of our group. We had steak and lobster for dinner this night.
Tomorrow will once again be the Django starting at 8 in the morning and lunch will be Turkey starting at 12:30 in the afternoon. And also tomorrow the cruise director will feature the debarkation dock where he will update you the latest customs rules and regulations, and it is very important that at least one member from his family or group attend this meeting in the Batman line.
One of the dancers approached our men and wanted photographs with them. After the drinks, iced apple martinis. The Taj Mahal was our next stop for another Broadway-type show. After the show, we made our way to the Lido Deck, where a band was playing 50s, 60s music for dancing. Just before midnight, we went back to the Neptune room, our dining hall, to see the fabulous buffet that was put on by the chefs. This is the entrance to the restaurant. There was a huge ice sculpture of a dragon to begin the display.
The center of the table, we have Stitch's Cured, Alaskan King Salmon, assorted cold cuts, egg salads. We also want platters of slow roasted eggs, beef, Maine lobster, Maryland crab terrain, Mississippi shrimp terrain, cognac flavored ballots, some ballots, and duck, and much more. All mentioned items are displayed on the merchandise market file show trays. There's detailed information.
Everything you see here was edible.
We all actually keep our moving in a forward direction in order to give your fellow guests the opportunity to enjoy lunch. I experience the dining room we don't forget, but also enjoy the vast, well-lit places. White chocolate opera, orange rebellion, black forest cake, chocolate water, western marzipan. On the dessert table, you will also see chocolate carvings, which I think are approximately 18 hours to prepare. At the end of the table, full of desserts, you have masterfully completed chocolate mixed salad, filled with sheep crust, covered with chocolate, shrimp, and dolcios. Ladies and gentlemen, when you've done, please vacate the gardens and the rest of the teams. We're trying to play just before I send you down. Once again, enjoy.
Oh, look at the birds. Those are neat. The banana birds. Oh, there she is.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of our food and beverage manager, chef, and manager, we'd like to welcome all of you to our grand gala buffet. We're to commemorate natural taste and beauty that only the incredible talents of the countless chefs could create. Tonight's gala display will take approximately 10 hours. Dedication by a team drawn from the common traditions of their own country. On the table you'll find numerous food products, special classics, and ice offers. All items have been masterfully carved on board by the
Back in our rooms, we found elephants on our bed this time. Saturday morning, we awakened to our last day at sea. Jim spent part of his day at the slots, winning $1,000 on one machine. He actually was up close to $1,300 at one time. Most of us spent the day reading, wandering the ship, shopping, or purchasing photos. It was a slow day, cold on deck, and not filled with much activity. Dinner time at the Neptune included a dance around the tables. to the Starry Night Lounge, where Shelley entertained us with karaoke.
Nothing you can say can tear me away from my side. Nothing you can do but step my clue to my life. I'm sticking to my guy like a stick to a letter, like birds of a feather. We stick together. I've told you from the start I can't be torn apart from my guy. Nothing you can do could make me true to my God. My God. Nothing you can do could make me feel alive to my God. I take my time, my word of honor to be his home, and I'm gonna even my side. As a matter of opinion, I think he's tough. My opinion is a friend of the court. As a matter of taste to be exact, he already was a matter of fact. So much about men can take my hand from my man. No handsome face could ever take the place of my God. He may not be a movie star, but when it comes to being happy, we are. Not today you could put me away from my God. No looks about that could take my hand from my side. My God. No handsome face could ever take the place of my God. He may not be a movie star, but when it comes to being happy, we are. Now that's the way he could ever take me away from my God. There's not a man today who could take me away from my God. There's not a man today who could take me away from my God.
We then went to the atrium to listen to another entertainer before going to bed. We awakened Sunday morning to find ourselves nearly into port in Long Beach. We had to wait a while to debark, but our color deck was one of the first to be called, so we did get out early. Piling all our luggage onto the porter's cart seemed to be an impossible task. It was finally time for all of us to say goodbye and to make our way to our own homes, tired but happy.